This is KGW News at noon.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are starting off this noon with the war in Ukraine. Today, high-level diplomatic talks between Ukraine and Russia ended with no deal to stop the fighting or ease the growing humanitarian crisis. As Jay Gray shows us, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian citizens are crossing the border, fleeing to Poland.
Hey there, want to give you an idea of what's happening here. That's the where you see the fences there. That's the line. That's the line between Poland and Ukraine, the border here, and the area where here at Medyka, hundreds of thousands have made the trip from Ukraine into Poland. It's a journey to safety and one that continues down this walking path. 2 days ago, I can tell you that none of these tents were here. You didn't see any of this. It was empty fields. Now volunteers have come in with food, with water, with supplies, clothing for those that may need it after what's been a long journey. And so this is desperately needed supplies. And as the crowds grow, so has the group of volunteers. How long that can continue, nobody here really knows. They say they're going to do it for as long as they can, as long as necessary. The red tents behind us here, these are medics. These are people who have come in to help those who may need some assistance, may need some treatment after the long journey here. And so you've got people continuing to flood in from across Ukraine into Poland. The end of this path, what you've got is buses that will take people to train stations. They can move further into Poland and then eventually on into perhaps Western Europe. That's the latest here along the Poland-Ukraine border. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you now.
Well, today, Vice President Kamala Harris met with Poland's president. Both applauded the Polish people for their extraordinary efforts to help Ukrainian refugees. The leaders also confirmed their commitment to defending and supporting NATO allies and the people of Ukraine.
We will do everything together, in partnership, in solidarity, to support what is necessary at this very moment in terms of the humanitarian and security needs of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people.
Poland said it would supply Russian-made fighter jets to Ukraine if America would deliver them, but the U.S. rejected that offer. In the meantime, we're feeling the ripple effects of this conflict here at home in the form of soaring gas prices. AAA says the national average for a gallon of regular is $4.31. Oregon's average is even higher, a record $4.72. That's 6 cents more than yesterday. Up in Washington, drivers are paying $4.70 a gallon, which is 20 cents higher than yesterday. Turning now to the pandemic and a heads up for travelers, the TSA extended its nationwide mask mandate. That means you still have to wear your mask on public transportation, including planes, trains, and buses. The rule will stay in effect until at least April 18th. Well, cold temperatures were the big weather headline this morning, but look at all that sunshine this afternoon. That's the view from our Wells Fargo Skycam. Let's check in with Rod back in the Weather Center. How cold did it get this morning?
Well, here are the lows. By the way, the record out at the airport today, 22. It's one of the lower records you'll find this time of year. And the airport only got down to 30. Some of these lows could be adjusted when the final report comes out, but it looks like 24 in Hillsborough and the same temperature up in Kelso. Out in Hood River, you folks dipped to 23 this morning. Salem and Eugene, 25. And then look east of the Cascades, 9 degrees in Bend this morning. Burns beat that, getting down to 8 degrees. And then out in the Blues, Meacham was 10 below zero. All right. Brenda showed you the sun, so despite that cold start, we're going to be warming up nicely. Here's Timberline. It was 10 degrees up there this morning. They're at 32, so that's a nice warm up, right? Here's Astoria from the Astoria column, 48 degrees. Same kind of milky high thin clouds that we have here in downtown Portland. We're sitting at 46, so at least up into the 50s this afternoon, maybe 54 at 4 p.m. Winds will be light. We have dry weather tomorrow and then rain arriving on Saturday. We'll talk about that weekend coming up.
We'll see you then. Thank you, Rod. In other news this noon, a taxi driver suffered life-threatening injuries in a crash this morning in Portland's Old Town. It happened around 3 a.m. on Northwest 2nd and Everett. The crash involved 2 cars, including a radio cab. paramedics had to cut that taxi driver out of the car. The driver of the other vehicle wasn't seriously hurt, but she was taken to the hospital as a precaution. We don't know yet what led up to this crash. Now to an update on the domestic violence accusations against former Timbers midfielder Andy Polo. ESPN talked to his estranged wife. She says the Timbers offered her financial support if she didn't press charges. Last month, the Timbers terminated Polo's contract when the accusations became public. The incident happened in May of last year. Sheriff's deputies showed up at the couple's home, and so did two Timbers employees. Polo was cited for misdemeanor harassment, but he was never charged. His estranged wife told ESPN Timbers employees told her they'd make sure her kids were taken care of as long as she didn't pursue charges. Now, in a statement to ESPN, the team denied any such offer. They said the Timbers would never condone or participate in such conduct. Polo has also denied any domestic abuse. MLS, meantime, has hired an outside law firm to look into those charges.
I'm asking you to listen now. Stop talking about gun violence, and let's come up with a real solution, a real answer that includes all of us.
That call for change in Portland's Dawson Park, with advocates demanding less talk and more action after two recent shootings, one of them deadly. The park has a long history of being a gathering place for many in the Black community, but recently people say Dawson Park has become a place of sorrow and pain. This memorial is set up on Northeast Stanton Street for 55-year-old Mark Johnson. He was gunned down on the edge of Dawson Park just last week. 1 year ago to the day, the same spot was blocked off with crime tape as police investigated the shooting death of another Black man, 42-year-old Titus McNack.
This is about you caring enough about Black lives that you're willing to put your money where your mouth is and invest in the people that know how to do the work instead of just talking about it.
They're calling for room at the table now for more diverse perspectives, including those directly impacted by the violence. City Commissioner Mingus Mapp says he's willing to discuss new approaches. Well, after 90 years in business, a Portland jewelry store says it cannot survive downtown anymore. The owner of Margulis Jewelers will close in the next few months. The store is right next to Pioneer Courthouse Square. It tried holding a sale to bring customers in, but the owner says foot traffic downtown just never bounced back to where it was pre-pandemic. He blames city and county leaders for not doing more to protect businesses and bring office buildings back to life.
The perception of the people is that there's just a broken downtown and people don't want to come downtown. The employees aren't coming to their buildings, the shoppers aren't coming down, and our city has done too little, too late to help downtown and the independent merchants.
In a letter to customers, David Margulis outlined the problem, saying it was a combination of things: the pandemic, the homeless crisis, vandalism, and a, quote, general sense of nighttime lawlessness.